the first day of the World Academic Society of Medical Qigong Conference. Okay, so today we have another hotel room vlog because it has been a long and busy day and it's quite late at night and dark outside and so on. So that's where the vlog's coming to you today. But I'm just going to give you a little bit of a recap or overview of what took place on the first day of the World Academic Society of Medical Qigong conference here in Beijing. So it started the day with, there were some optional Qigong classes or practice sessions outside of the hotel. They didn't seem to be particularly formally organized, although it was announced that they were on, so people could go join them if they wanted. And it was, I guess, more of an exchange of sorts in terms of there were just a few different teachers, you know, running a session, teaching something, and whoever wanted to join in could join in. So, so that was a nice way to start the day. Pretty darn cold out there this morning, though. Then from there, we had breakfast, but I'm not going to show you any video of that. I'll spare you those details. But then we had the first session of the conference, the opening session with opening speeches and things like that. Now, this conference is also marking the 30th anniversary of the founding of this Medical Qigong Association. So as part of that, our delegation from New Zealand sung the association happy birthday. And then we gave them a banner. Banners are a really Chinese thing. They love to have banners for everything. And so our New Zealand association presented a banner to this Medical Qigong Association in recognition of the 30th anniversary. So that was quite nice. Everyone in the crowd seemed to really get into that and think that was a good idea. The opening session continued with speeches from different representatives from different countries, which was great, talking about what was going on with Qigong in their country, and also some different representatives from within China. One in particular, he had an interesting speech. He talked a lot about the history of the association and how that ties in politically with the politics in China as well. So that was interesting. And then finally, the last speech of the opening session was from the president, and he gave a long speech. He talked a lot about the history of Qigong from 4,000 years ago up until present day, and then talked about different classifications and aspects of Qigong. But the part that I found interesting was he, at the end, he gave his, I guess, state of the association, or and talked about what was happening with medical Qigong and what he felt needed to happen. And there were a whole range of things that he felt were important. In particular, he talked about creating standardized exercises or practices, because this can then be researched more easily. He talked about some of the challenges of creating standardized and recognized qualifications, which was so that people could recognize the skill level of different teachers of Qigong. And so that was interesting as well. That, even within China, they're struggling with some of the same issues that people are struggling with in, relating to the Qigong as it develops and becomes more known around the world. What are the appropriate levels of qualifications? How do you do that? And then he talked about a number of other things relating to research and to move things forwards in that way. With regard to the standardization, I think it's an interesting topic. I can see the need or the value of that, particularly in terms of if you're wanting to do standardized testing. There's great value in that, because you can't do standardized testing without some kind of standardized protocol. The flip side of that is that I am quite cautious about that as well, because sometimes heading down that avenue of standardization, people then want to make everything fit into the standardized models. Now, great for that research, but I think it's still really important to allow for a great diversity of practice and approaches. This is part of the strength, in terms of, if you look at any natural environment, part of its strength is its diversity. A rainforest, part of its health is its diversity. Whenever you start having monocultures, they become very prone to disease and things that can essentially wipe them out. Whereas when you have diversity, there's more resilience built into the system. Now, there is great diversity of Qigong practice, and which is great, and I hope long may that continue. So I think there's value in both approaches in different contexts, and I 100% agree having some standardized practices or protocols and things for the sake of research, really useful. But I don't think we should go to the extent of then trying to fit all practices within that. I think the diversity is important too. Speaking of diversity of practice, finally, in the afternoon, I finally get to show you some diversity of practice here in China, because the afternoon was entirely made up of different demonstrations of people doing different Qigong practices. And there was quite a lot of diversity on show. I think there were 7 or 8 individuals or groups that demonstrated things. And there were 2 groups who did some 5 animal stuff. But everyone else was quite different from each other. And of course, there's much more diversity than just that. But this is just, a sampling of some of the different things. Those of you who practice some of the long white cloud Qigong practices will recognize not necessarily the exact practices here, but some of the flavors and some of the aspects within these practices. You might go, oh, that looks similar to something that I've already done, which is great, because sometimes in Qigong people, they only learn one style or one type, or maybe 2 if they're lucky, and they then think that that's it. They think all Qigong is like whatever it is they've learned. But the reality is there is far, far more out there, and there's great diversity within Qigong practice, many different approaches, and many different valid ways of doing Qigong that each contribute different things. We do actually, across the different long white cloud Qigong practices, embrace and utilize a lot of different aspects. We put them together in different ways within the different practices. So you get quite a lot of diversity simply within the long white cloud Qigong practices, let alone going beyond that. But it's really healthy to understand this diversity because, well, again, it builds in resilience. You understand things better when you understand the different ways that they are put together, and so on. So that was really nice to finally, in the end, to be able to show you some diversity of practice here at the conference. And then as part of that, so a lot of them were moving sets of exercises. There was some Tai Chi. And then there was one guy who mainly he really just talked about a particular type of sound Qigong that he had been working with. And then there was a group at the end who did some Qigong healing up the front, so everyone could watch. They had some volunteers come out and do that. So I hope you enjoy watching these little samples of what's going on at the conference. There's going to be a lot more tomorrow, which I'm really looking forward to. There's going to be people discussing projects and research that they've been working on and things like that, as well as more demonstrations. I'm going to be demonstrating something tomorrow, so hopefully that will all go well. I'm feeling a bit stiff from a lot of travel lately in cramped conditions and so on, so hopefully I'll be able to do the demonstration justice tomorrow. But one way or another, I hope you've enjoyed the vlog, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.